In this video, I'm going to show you how to overwrite your default tool animation for specific tools. For instance, if I have this pickaxe, I don't want to carry it like the default, right? That's the default animation. You run around like that. Not bad for most things, but if I pick up a pickaxe, I might want something different. I thought that'd be pretty cool and pretty useful. Let's go ahead and get started. I have an empty base plate here. There's nothing in my game. And the first thing I want to do is make a tool so I could add the animation to it. So I'm going to go to the toolbox under the home tab, right? Toolbox. And I have the My Models open. Let's go to the creator store. That'll probably open by default. And I want a mesh part. So it's just a part, something that somebody created in like Blender and imported it into the game. No scripts or anything. Let's search on pickaxe, hit enter, and we have a lot to choose from. Ooh, look at that standard pickaxe. Let's see what we got. Wow, that's big, right? Let's close the toolbox. So when they import stuff, when people import stuff into Roblox, sometimes they don't scale it. So I have scale selected here. You might have select, do scale. Click on that green dot. You'll notice in the lower right corner, there's something that says, there's a little key. If you hold down the alt and drag down, you could make your pickaxe smaller. We don't really know how big we should make it. So I dragged it down to a reasonable size, but I think I'm going to go to avatar, rig builder, and then add a rig. So I'm going to do R15. This will work on R6, but you have to make your animation on R6 if you do. So this is the default. We get R15s. There are rigs with 15 parts. Let's go ahead and hit Mesh Avatar. Put it right on the pickaxe, and that is still a big pickaxe. I'm doing this for a size reference, but we're also going to use them for our animation. Let's click our pickaxe again. Make this a little smaller. Alt, press, drag. That's not bad, right? Maybe we'll make this metal. All right, so let's go down here. Maybe change the color a little bit, maybe darker gray. Go down a little more, and under material, let's make it metal. Hit an M and metal. To make it a tool, I'm going to go to the workspace. I'm going to hit the plus. I'm going to hit T for tool. There we go. There's our tool. This is going to be our pickaxe. I'm going to rename it to pickaxe. Right, I'm going to grab my standard pickaxe model mesh part, drag it into pickaxe. I'm going to rename the pickaxe to handle. I'm going to drag the pickaxe into the rig so I can adjust the grip, right? There it is. It's kind of funny like that. Not bad, but not exactly what I want. So with pickaxe selected, maybe move this up. Right? The tools selected. We have this grip thing right here, right? And we can change where you're holding the handle, right? But don't select handle, select the tool. Under the position, start playing around with some of these numbers. Let's see, a lot of times this lines up nice. So you have the green, which is yellow, which is y-axis, right? And because I have it on local. That doesn't always work, but it usually works. So I look at the green. Green is the y-axis, and I'm going to make that a 1. And it's slid the other way. So let's make the middle number, which is the y-axis, a -1. And you could play with all of these, right? You could open it up too, and you can see the X, Y, and Z. But just play around with it, see what you like. Doesn't have to be exactly like mine. Underneath position, you have orientation. I want to rotate that pickaxe. I am going to try the Y again. So I'm going to do, say, 90 degrees on the Y. That's pretty good. Now I got a grip position, which is decent. Now our animation is going to be pretty easy. Let's go to Avatar, and then we'll do Animation Editor. We're going to click on our rig, right? And then I'm going to call this, how about Carry Anim. Carry Anim, right? You might want to make it more specific if you have a lot of different carry anims for different tools. I'm going to go to these 3 dots. Set animation priority would work most of the time on idle. It might work all the time on idle for all I know, but what I do, if I want to make sure to override the idle and the movement animations, I'm going to make it action. So this is going to be the carry. It's going to be action, which means when you activate, you want to go one higher at least. So you'd go to action 2 if you activate. We're not going to do that today. We're just going to do the carry. Hit action, right? That's going to make sure you're carrying it the way you want to carry it. I want to save it again just so I don't lose anything. And then with this scrubber bar at the 0 position, we're only going to add one set of keyframes. I'm going to grab this arm. Actually, the upper arm, I kind of like the way it is. I'm going to grab, how about the hand? Let's do hand first. See how far we could get away with without the wrist looking too funny. Yeah, maybe 3. Let me get a little closer. Maybe the lower arm now. 1, 2, 3. Can we do it? Not looking terrible. Huh. Maybe we'll move it in a little bit. You want to move his hand in? Let's get his hand. Hand. Just click it that way. And you can play around with it. You want to move this arm up? I kind of think it's good the way it's at, but that'll add a keyframe. That's pretty good. It's sitting right on his shoulder. All right, I like it. I'm going to go with that. 3 dots, save. 3 dots, publish to Roblox. My window's too big. I can't see my submit button, so I'm going to shrink that down. I'm going to keep it as carry anim. I'm going to hit save. This is my ID. I'm going to need it. You would have to save it yourself to get your own ID because IDs don't work cross account. So if you use this number, it's not going to work for you, right? So save it off yourself. Get the ID. Hit that little box, ID copied, right? We're going to close it. I'm going to scroll up to where my pickaxe is. Straight. I'm going to hit the plus. I'm going to hit an A. Look for animation, right? We're going to call this like carry anim. In carry anim, you're going to look for, in the properties, animation ID. You're going to paste in that ID that you got when you published off your animation. Nice. You got the RBX asset ID stuff prepended. I'm going to close this now. Let's go to the pickaxe, right? The tool, hit the plus, and we're going to add a local script. If you do not see local script, do LOC. There's local script. All right. And then I think I'll just call this, how about client, right? Like a lot of times if it's a weapon, I might have like activate like attack or something like that. But client, it's a client script. And we can add animations client side and everybody will see them. It's not one of those things that has to be controlled by the server. So let's do local tool for our tool variable, and we'll do script.parent, right? Because the script is on the tool. The parent is the tool. So we'll say local player. Let's initialize that to nil, and then maybe use the player's service. So I'm going to say players with an S, right? And this is going to be game, get service, players, so we can get our local player if we need it. Or we could do get player from character, which is what I'm going to use. Either one you could use, right? I'm going to get a variable for char, but I'm going to initialize it to nil. I'm going to get a variable for the mouse, initialize that to nil. And then we are going to get a connection for the activate, initialize that to nil. I want to get my carry anim. It's on the tool. So we'll say tool. Then we'll say wait for child. Carry anim. And let's do a variable for the carry track. And now we'll just set that to nil because we're not going to initialize it there. We're going to need a few functions, right? So I just scrolled my code up a little bit. We're going to need a function for on carry. And I want to have the character get passed in and whether we are equipping or unequipping our tool, right? And should we put a print in here? Equip. Equipped and on carry. How about that? Because we're also going to have an equipped function. Let's just put the placeholder for the on activated, right? Because you're going to want to do something with the tool, although we won't do it today. We'll just do a print. We'll say activated, right? So we can see the flow. What else are we going to need? We're going to need an equipped and an unequipped. And I'm going to call them, how about local function on equipped, right? So when we're equipping, this is going to fire. So on equipped, and then let's do something like this. Local function on unequipped, right? And then on the tool itself, we're going to grab the equipped event, and then we're going to connect that to our on equipped function. And make sure that Roblox doesn't put 2 extra parentheses in there, or you're going to get an error. So we'll get the tool, and then we're going to get the unequipped event, fires by Roblox. You don't have to do anything for that event. When you pick something up or you put something down. Unequipped is when you put it down, right? So we'll do on unequipped. This is going to fire when we put the tool down or we put it in our backpack. Let's do a quick test to make sure that we are picking up the tool okay and putting the tool down. I am going to copy this line. So I highlighted the print activated, Control C, Control V, and then I'm going to say equipped right here, right? Right, on equipped. We want to see that print out when we go to put our, we'll pick up our tool, and then a Control V. Let's call this unequipped. Maybe do a Control C, Control V, copy and paste, right? Unequipped. They don't have to be spelled right or anything, just so that you could see where they're firing when you're picking your tool up, right? So these are notes to you. Now, in order to test it, let's go back to the workspace. He's carrying the tool, so we can't pick it up. Let's do this. Click pickaxe and then drag it to the workspace. Boom, there we go. Now let's hit the play button, view, output, make sure we don't have any errors. Look for the tool, boom, equipped, right? We picked it up. Unequipped, we put it in our backpack. Equipped, we picked it up. Good, we don't have the animation yet. We got to hook that up. That's all right. At least we got to this part. And let's go ahead and turn this off. Let's go back to our script. Now you'll notice that on carry didn't fire, right? We're not calling it yet. We're going to. Now let's go to our on equipped, and we'll put some code in here. I'm going to get rid of the print statement because we know it's working. When we pick up our tool, on equipped fires. Let's get our char variable, which is short for character, and we'll get the tool's parent, right? So if we picked up the tool, the parent is the character. We should get a valid character. Let's get the player from the character. So player equals, we're going to get the player's service, and then there's a method called get player from character. If this char is legit, then player is going to be the player that picked up the tool. But let's do a little check. Let's say if not player, like something weird happened and now player's nil, then return. Let's not do anything if something weird happened, right? And then let's get the mouse from our player. So player also has a method, whoops, called get mouse. There we go. Sorry, I lost you there for a second. And I'll get the connection, right? We made a variable for the connection. What's that? We're going to get our tools activated event, and we are going to connect that to on activated. Make sure there's no parentheses there, right? And that is going to be stored in this variable. We're not actually firing anything off here. We're just making the connection. But then when you start clicking on things, our on activated is going to fire. And we can put another animation there when we're like digging or something. Let's get our on carry function, call it here. We are going to pass in the character and we're going to say true. True that we are carrying our tool. Then we could go up here and start doing stuff. However, let's do a quick check to make sure that our equip and carry is firing when we pick up the tool, and then when we click, activated is firing, right? Those should be hooked up. Let's hit the play button, view, output. Let's look for our tool. There we go. We got our pickaxe. Animation is still not hooked up, but we do have the equip and on carry. I'm going to make this bigger so you can see it. Now, if I go ahead and click on something, activated, right? So the activated is working. If I put this back, unequipped. Nice. Let's turn this off. We'll get rid of our output window. We'll go back to our script client. So I feel as though I could get rid of this print statement, right? Because we tested that. Let's do an if not char, then return. Something weird happened and we lost our character. That should be perfect just like that. It's a return end. It's good. A little bit of checking. let's get to humanoid, right? So we have, we'll call him Hume because it's easier to spell. We got our char. We could do a wait for child. Wait for child. We'll say humanoid. Maybe you could put a timeout here too if you don't want it to like hang if you can't find it. Yeah, let's do that. Right, let's do that. Let's put a 2 there. I hardly ever do that. But let's do, now let's get our animator. That is in the humanoid. So we'll say we got the humanoid. Now we'd get an error here if the humanoid did fail. But that's fine, right? It's not going to fail. We'll say Hume, wait for child, animator. Oh my goodness, animator. And you could put a default value in there. I think I'm going to take them out though, because that way if we get an error, we're going to get an infinite yield exception, and then we could troubleshoot. I feel like we could troubleshoot easier like that. All right, let's check to see if we are equipping or unequipping. So we had this, so we sent in as true, right? When we picked up our tool. So if it's true, then we are going to get our carry track by getting the animator and loading. We'll say load animation. We got our carry anim right there, right? So put the anim there, we're going to get the track. That's what plays. And there's only one keyframe, right? So that's okay. We're just going to do carry track and then play, right? If we send a false in, which is what we're going to do when we unequipped, let's do an else if. And we're going to say else if carry track, then, so equipped was false, but we still have a carry track, right? If that's the case, then we're going to say, I keep wanting to spell carry that way, carry track stop. If there's no carry track, we don't have to stop it, right? Because it's gone, right? So, and then we'll do our carry track again, and let's destroy it. You want to destroy it? Destroy. And then carry track. I'm just doing some cleanup here, right? I don't know how much Roblox does its cleanup. So we'll do that. We're basically stopping it if we put our weapon away. We didn't hook that up yet. But now we should be able to see our animation play. So let's try it. Let's hit the play button. All right, here's our little guy. Let's go view output. Look for scary red errors. There's our tool. Boom, look at that. We are carrying the animation. Now we're not turning it off yet, right? His arm's still there. Let's turn it off when we unequip. Turn the game off. Hit my little X button. Go back to client. Let's scroll on down to on unequipped, right? And I feel like we could get rid of this print statement because we tested that. I want to get not my char, keep the char, right? Because we have to do the unequip for the on carry, right? So let's get the player, set that to nil. We're not going to need the player anymore. We're not going to need the mouse anymore. Let's get our connection and let's disconnect it. Disconnect our activated, right? Which we're not really doing much with, but you may want to with your tool, so I'm leaving it there. Now on our on carry, let's do char and then send in a false, right? We're no longer carrying it. Now we could say char equals nil, right? We want the char to exist right here. Now what happens? The big thing that happens here, well, also this, right? We don't want to be digging something up or whatever when we don't have the pickaxe in our hand, so we're going to disconnect that. But right here, remember, here's your on carry, and we sent in a false. We come down here. If the carry track is still there, we're going to turn it off, right? If it's not, it's fine. If it's not, it's fine. Like if we died or something like that, it's all right, right? It's gone. Let's try it. Let's hit play. There we go. And let's get view output. Look for errors. There's our pickaxe. Let's pick it up. There we go. Now put it away. Sweet. Pick it up. Put it away. Let's pick it up and die. Respawn. Reset. All right, come back. Oh, there's no pickaxe. But at least we don't have our hand up in that pickaxe position. I think that's pretty good. All right, I will see you in the next video. Maybe we'll do some digging with that, right? I'm on my animation kick here.